In today's video, we discuss how you can more quickly pay off your student loans. Welcome back to another video. My name is Alex Teng, and today we are discussing how you can more quickly pay off your student loans. Alright, if you guys like these kind of videos, please hit that like button down below and subscribe. I'm going to try to mix it up with more complex financial topics and financial news, kind of mixed in with these basics for college students, because yes, I am a college student right now. Now, besides all that, let's get straight into the video. Now look, I know that if you're just starting your career, maybe you're going to do internships, or if you're still in college wanting to finish up your classes, thinking about loans can be very stressful. Now, the one thing that I want to help you guys out with is to develop a plan. In my opinion, the earlier you decide to develop a plan to pay back your student loans, the more money that you could potentially save yourself in the long run. All right, so real quick, we're gonna go over some steps that I think you should use to develop a plan, what kind of factors that you should take into consideration, and then we're gonna go over some tips that I have that you guys may or may not know in order to pay off your student loans quicker. Alright, so this might be obvious, but the very first step in the process of your student loan repayment journey is to figure out exactly how much you owe and at what kind of interest rate. Look, the only way to really pay off your debts is to have a good view of exactly how much you owe. I recommend being able to check this number consistently as you start paying off your student loan. Look, you don't want any surprises when it comes to paying your student loan debt, and having a view of exactly how many loans you've taken out and at what interest rate will help you dramatically. Really, at any given moment, know roundabout where you are in the repayment process. This may seem like an obvious step, but it is one that some people seem to neglect, so it's something that you should take into consideration, and the earlier that you do this, the better it's going to be. Next step is to find your total monthly income. Now, if you are a student, you can find the estimated monthly income from the entry-level position in the field that you're looking to work in. And that way you can come up with a plan or an estimated plan of what you think you will be able to make and how long it'll be able to take you to pay off your student loans. The only way to pay off your debt fast is to know exactly how much you're going to make per month. Because once you know your income, then you'll figure out what your capacity to pay is. And that is important for the next step. All right, the next step, or step 3, is figuring out your monthly expenses. And this is a key element because you need to know how much your necessities are going to cost, how much you want in discretionary spending, and how much you're going to have to repay in your loans. One rule that I do recommend for paying off student loans, and this is kind of a common one along a lot of financial advisors, is the 20% rule for paying off your loans. This means you take about 20% of your monthly income and you're going to put that towards your student loans. One thing that I also recommend you do in order to figure out what your monthly expenses are is get a budget calculator. I actually use Mint, and it's actually a free app. I connect it with my accounts and it shows me a great view of what I'm spending. Obviously, I'm not sponsored by Mint. You don't have to use Mint. There's so many different kinds of budget calculators out there, but I would recommend putting everything that you spend in a month into a budget calculator. That way you get a view of exactly how much you're spending. All right, now that we have the basic steps out of the way, from estimating your monthly income to creating a budget and to setting aside a certain percentage for student loans, let's go over some of the little bit more advanced tips. They're not really advanced, but a little more nuanced tips to saving you money on your student loans rather than just making a plan. All right, the first tip is to make sure that you know exactly what interest rate you're paying. You want to have this down. The reason for this is because the interest rate really means everything when it comes to saving money. And if you don't know what an interest rate is, real quick, it's the cost of borrowing money. Usually with student loans, they're going to take it as an annual interest rate. All student loans are what are called amortized loans. Real quick note on amortized loans, and this applies to all student loans, of course. The first part of the payment is going to go to interest, while the second part covers what's called the principal. Now, the principal is the actual money that you borrowed, and the entire goal for paying off your student loans early is to pay more down on the principal. So that way you're paying off more of the actual money that you borrowed rather than just paying towards interest. The second tip I have for you is to look into refinancing your loan. Now, if you haven't ever refinanced anything, don't worry. It's actually a really simple concept. Basically what it is that if you have a loan at a higher interest rate, let's say my student loans are at 5%, but the new student loans coming out are at a lower interest rate, let's say 3%. I can actually take a new student loan at 3% to cover my old student loan, and that way the interest rate that I pay is less. Now, refinancing can save you a ton of money, especially in the long run. So make sure you keep up with interest rates, and I definitely recommend that you try it out. The last thing I recommend kind of goes along with what I was talking about earlier when it comes to the budget calculator, and that's figuring out your areas of spending and also figuring out what areas you can cut back on. If you can save potentially $300 or even $400 a month to put towards your student loans, you can get yourself out of debt months or even years faster than you would otherwise. Now, I know for a lot of people, you don't like owing money, and student loans are kind of like the ultimate nightmare. I get it. That's why it's really important to figure out what areas you can cut back on and what areas that you can put maybe a little bit more towards student loans. Alright, that is the end of the video. I hope you liked it. Please subscribe down below and also like the video as well. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.